Hello, I'm Adriana. In order to become a clear channel for the divine, I have worked on my issues every single day for the past 8 years. This very intensive self work has allowed me to grow my natural intuitive abilities to the point where the clairaudience becomes very strong, as well as the ability to receive wisdom for those who are on the spiritual journey, who are on a path of personal growth and personal evolution. Today's reading is for an individual who needs some guidance, and this reading is going to help you bring more positive energy into your situation and into the world, excuse me, around you. So let's go ahead and align our energies right now. And if you could just bring your energy into the center of your body and concentrate it in the heart space. Asking for guidance, asking for the clarity you've been seeking. Okay, let me go ahead and get the deck ready. Okay, foundational cards. 4 of Air, 2 of Earth, Chariot, and the Ace of Air. Okay, and I'll show these to you as I talk about them, but right now I want to see what else is going on. I'm actually going to look at what is going for you at this time. Okay, 7 of Water and 8 of Air, Knight of Water. Huh, interesting stuff there. All right, what challenges are coming from the self and what challenges are coming from others? All right, challenges from the self, 4 of Earth, challenges from others. Another 4, the Council of Monarchs. Do we have a 4? Yeah, we start with the 4 of Earth here. 4 of Air. So 4 being a big number for today. And the outcome and spiritual lesson, please. All right, Empress. Oh, okay, the sun came out. Finally, a really positive energy. Before I get into what's here, be reminded that all is unfolding for your growth and for your benefit. And the best thing that we can do, even in the midst of a lot of opposition or difficulty or hard times, the best thing we can do is just find one tiny thing to be grateful for. Because gratitude is that direct connection to the energy of the Empress, the energy of that force that wants us to succeed, that wants us to do well, that wants us to thrive. Gratitude is a perfect, exact vibrational match to that energy beyond ourselves. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the foundation here. We've got active and passive things going on at the same time. But what I feel most of all is there's a conflict within the psyche. It's almost like night and day. Yeah, light and dark, night and day are in conflict here. And it has to do with your belief system versus the way you're being asked to move forward. And what's interesting, I said night and day. Look at these white flowers here. Do you see it's the same white flowers, but they're in the dark? So there's something around perhaps the way for you is shadowed right now, or almost like you're in 2 different stages of development at once. Even though she's white, this is very spring-like to me. The poppies are a spring flower, and white flowers tend to, for me, come out at springtime when everything is new. Here the flowers are older, but there's snow on the ground. So this is like fall and winter. So it's almost like maybe also it can be like 2 different times are coming together to clash with you. I'm not getting that this is about timelines per se, but it is definitely about reconciling 2 opposing energies within you. And It's also about learning to hold hands with the shadow so that the shadow becomes on your side. So learning to hold hands with your own shadow so that your shadow becomes an ally. In one stage, like in the ego stage of growth, the shadow is something to manage or to be aware of or to conquer or to guide, to shield yourself against the dragons in the back. And right now, and then on this card, the more mature energy, the fall and winter, I see as more mature energy. Um, the shadow, that crow, she's riding on its back, and she's even got her hand on it. It's like the shadow becomes a friend. And so there are parts of your shadow self that are being especially brought to the surface, brought right to your face right now. The things that you fear, the things that you wish would stay hidden, you wish would stay at bay. That shadow is wanting to become your strongest ally. And right now, this is about making allies out of our shadows. It's kind of that like archetypal story of standing up to the bully and the bully becomes your best friend. There is wisdom in your shadow. This is very much like a Lilith kind of energy. Lilith represents in the astrological chart that unintegrated shadow self that asks and is begging for nurturing and begging for reintegration to the rest of the self. But because this energy has been repressed and pushed away for so long, it's an aggressive energy. And the universe, faster than ever, is forcing you to look at that shadow and to be aware of what that shadow is and to truly make friends with it. Because there are aspects of the shadow self that have allowed us to survive. They are survival instincts. For me, personally, this has to do with masculine energy. I had to learn to adapt. Even though my natural energy is very feminine, I had to learn to adapt a very masculine energy to survive in my childhood home, in the workplace, wherever you want to. It reaches out furthest. It never worked for me once I learned the difference, but that masculine had become, first of all, it helped me survive. It helped me overcome adversity. It helped me understand boundaries. It helped me understand logic. It helps me understand what it is to stand up for yourself. Now, because I was coming at the shadow grew, the masculine for me grew out of the shadow, it tends to go overboard. So the masculine becomes too protective. It becomes too logical and shuts out the emotions completely, shuts out the intuition completely. So that's the side of the shadow self I had to learn to calm down. But having that masculine energy, knowing that that masculine energy can help support my natural feminine energy, that's an example of a shadow self becoming an ally. And so and the two of earth also has to do with bringing things together in a flow. And all of this has to do with how you think about your shadow self, what you call your shadow self. Is it something that you think you should repress, think you should push down? Is it something you think you should be afraid of, something you think you should succumb to? This is about laying a stronger mental foundation about your own shadow. What does your shadow mean? Do you recognize that beyond that shadow is your light? Because the funny thing is, what my masculine was protecting was a weak feminine energy in me. And yet that weak feminine was the key to my strength. Learning how to nurture and strengthen that feminine energy, that's my true strength. But had I just said, well, the masculine's right, or the masculine's bad, I'm going to take it completely away, then I would have still weakened the feminine. The feminine would not have been able to grow because there would not have been protection for it. And this might be getting beyond where you are right now. So let me just tune back in. No, I'm getting that this is somehow relevant for you. So once you understand that the shadow is not in control, and this is why, okay, this is making a lot of sense. The obstacle coming from you is your Four of Earth. You're trying to hold that shadow self in the ground. You're trying to keep it buried. And it looks like you're gaining control over it, but really, because you're tied to it, it's actually controlling you. So if you're not constantly micromanaging or constantly pushing down that shadow, do you see how you're not really running your life anymore? It's your shadow running your life because you're having to base all of your actions around it, around what you're afraid of happening. So it's really putting your life, centering your life around fear. And your soul at this time is not wanting that for you at all. It's wanting growth. It's wanting expansion. It's wanting you to move beyond. But let's also go into what else is happening here, because we have something really fascinating. We've got the Council of Elders being the opposition or the challenge from the outside. And we've also got these really interesting cards: Knight of Water, Eight of Air, Seven of Cups, Seven of Water, as the energy that's working for you. So tell me more about the energy that's working for us. On one hand, you're starting to recognize certain aspects or certain behaviors, certain processes as being part of your shadow. You're starting to recognize when you get into illusions, when you get yourself distracted, when you procrastinate. You're starting to realize when you feel powerless to leave a situation, and yet you know you have all the power to walk away. But the other thing is, even though those around you may have spun you into a web, you are still free. You are still stronger than any of those spider webs or anything that is touching you. And you try to go into your emotions as an escape. You try to, the Knight of Water here, this is like the energy that wants to escape. You try to go in there. So you try to get lost in those very strong emotions, those very strong feelings. But the truth is, you're starting to recognize that even the emotionality is becoming a distraction. Even going overboard with your emotions is becoming a distraction to you. And all of these cards beg to come back down to earth, because again, the challenge here is the thoughts. So there's something in this card that I'm not quite getting yet, so just give me a second. Okay, it's like you're half in and you're half out. We had double mermaids happening here, and mermaid is half human, half woman in our case, and half fish. So it's like half in the world of feeling, half in the world where our even gravity kind of works a little differently, and half in the rational or the loving self. And there's something about being so focused on that mermaid energy. It's like being too close to the womb. What's coming up from you from the shadow is a very primal, I want to say like a womb-like trauma. It might be something that did happen to you within the womb. And that's why it feels so close. And I'm really excited for you because you're at the point of realizing that, wait a minute, no one's actually holding me here. What's interesting is that when something is happening in the womb, it's happening in the environment. And because you are subjected to that environment, you feel the vibration, you feel the impact of it. And yet it's not you. it happened to your environment and you were in your environment. So in a sense, it did happen to you, but it also didn't happen to you. And I feel like we could just reach in and pull this fairy out easily. And that's what I feel for you, that even though this was a deep womb trauma, you're at the point of being able to just step away from it. If you could let go of the dark energy that it has brought up for you, because these things happen for us. Everything happens for us. And so in the midst of all of this womb trauma, it has brought up and created some kind of shadow figure, shadow for you, shadow side of your personality, dark, that wants to take down your light, take down the things that make you successful. But coming out of it a different way, thinking about it a different way, again, your thoughts and your beliefs are such a key factor here, that is what is your release. That's really exciting, actually. That's what your release. And I want to look quickly at the personality that I'm channeling here. Show me the personality. 6 of Fire. So you are someone that seeks the light, literally the light, the spotlight, the recognition. But yet what happened, that womb trauma, that shadow self says to you, you don't deserve the light. You don't deserve what you're asking for. And you don't deserve to be seen for the good of who you are. You only deserve for the shadow part of you to be seen. But the truth is you're done. You're tired of singing those types of songs. You're tired of identifying with the shadow. And that's what I think is very, very important here, because on the other side, these are very similar energies in their shadow selves. The 4 of Earth, and this is like an emperor type energy. And in the emperor shadow side, it is about control. It is about authority to the point of dictator, dictatorial authority. And so this is like as above, so below, or inside and outside mirroring each other. As you try to control more of your shadow self, trying to keep it at bay, you feel more and more control from the outside. You feel more and more control from those around you. And it feels like you can't get through. It feels like maybe your intuition isn't as strong around them, or it feels like your logic isn't as strong. You don't have a strong handle over your emotions. The way forward as to what to do on, earthly steps, like the practicality, that is shrouded from you. And all of it is because of this energy of holding. And really, I was talking about feminine energy before. This is Emperor, this is Empress. These are the pair. The spiritual outcome of this is the Empress, that there is a loving divine energy that is wanting your expansion, is wanting your growth. This is the opposite. Holding on would be the opposite of pregnancy, right? And pregnancy means new potential, new growth, new opportunity. And what's interesting here is that the pulling out of this fairy from where she's been stuck, that's very similar to a birth. It would be like a rebirth, where she was stuck before, incubating, and now we pull her out. So that is where you are, and that is where you're headed. You're headed for this release of self, that as you consciously choose to make an ally of your shadow, you create a birth for yourself, a rebirth. That whole integrated self becomes reborn. And what does that mean? First of all, that means the end of trying to control yourself, trying to hold parts of yourself away, trying to, in a sense, reject part of yourself. You end up feeling more complete. So that releases the archetype of control from around your vibration. So other people cannot control you as strongly. You're allowed to do your own path. They can do their own path. Even if they're trying to control you, it's not going to bother you and hit you as much. You're not going to feel so constrained. And you're going to feel a different sense of wholeness, a different sense of purpose, and I do believe a more fertile time unfolding for you. I mean, this card is so beautiful. I think in every deck, the Empress is one of the most beautiful cards, but in this one especially, this is a really special card. So let's just take a quick peek, a quick gander into the future and see if all of these suggestions and advice are followed and we go for the Empress, what does the future hold? Elder of Fire, Nine of Earth, Justice. So you will have completed a karmic debt, a karmic path, and you walk forward comfortably into, I mean, this is also earthly abundance right here. The Elder of Fire with the Nine of Earth, that risks you try, positive risks. I'm not talking about dangerous ones, but positive risks that you take are met with abundance, material, resources, energetic, that type of abundance. Your self-confidence is completely transformed. Your ability to stay true to yourself and stay true to your power is completely transformed. And people look at your past differently. So the way you've perceived your past and the way you think that other people think about your past, it's like there's a chance for that perception to change. And why is that important that people would perceive the past differently? Because this time you emerge as the victor. This time you emerge as the hero. And truly, that is the place we're all striving to go. The path from self to spirit, or from ego to higher self, is about the path from victim to victor, victim to warrior, victim to those who are in control of their own destinies, victim to empowerment. So you allow people to see your own story differently. And the magic of that is in seeing your story differently, they are inspired to tell their own story differently. They may not immediately do it, but at least you're sowing the seed. The point is that when one person can overcome being a victim and seeing their entire life unfolding for them, that can make a huge impact on children, on the lives of any children you might touch, even on the lives of animals, but especially on those around you. And spiders have a symbology of being connected to stories, the stories that we tell. And one thing that I really love, I just watched this video on hummingbirds. We had a hummingbird on our two of, can you see it? On the two of Earth. And hummingbirds, to build their nests, they want to find the softest things possible, like little bits of fluff, or like dandelion fluff, like that kind of soft, fluffy stuff. But, fluff is not going to stick together on its own. So they actually repurpose, I was joking as we were watching this, that they're upcycling spider webs. So they're literally taking the spider webs, the cobwebs that might have kept us stuck in the past. They're lining their nest with that so that it holds together, so that it becomes a vessel to birth new joy, because hummingbirds are joy, right? So once you get to that place of realizing you're the victor in your life, and other people also start to see your story this way, it is the birth for more joy. And that is ultimately what this Empress is bringing full circle for us. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. Thank you for opening your energy field and your heart to this information. And thank you to those on the other side for giving us all of this wonderful healing energy. I'll see you soon, and have a good one.